All right, guys, the next tutorial is kind of a continuation, and it's the last tutorial for this particular series. So far we've learned how to create custom floor types, and then we've learned how to add those particular floor types that we've created to our REVIT project. Then we learned how to add foundation walls and footings to our REVIT project. And I'm going to kind of slide back to an operation that I attempted to do in tutorial number 3 until I realized that we really needed to have foundation walls and footings done before we did this step. So it's just adding that sill plate to our REVIT project. So right now I'm still looking at my 3D view. You can see here's the exterior deck that I created real quick, foundation walls, footings. These are my exterior walls of my main design here. And again, to properly model this, if I look at my rendering right now, and if I put on some more detail here, you'll notice that I see the brick of my wall, and then I see the edge of the floor, and then I see my top of foundation wall. If I zoom in really close, you'll notice that there's a gap between my foundation wall and my floor joists. Well, obviously this gap would be filled in with the sill plate. In real life, when we see our particular building here, we wouldn't see the edge of the floor. So depending on the exterior construction type, if it was siding, we'd actually see siding material that would continue down in front of this material here to the edge of our floor header. And if it was brick or stone, we would see stone that goes right down to the top of our foundation wall. So if we really want to design our work properly, we have to do a few of these little steps to make that happen. Anyone in the grade 11 class that's working on the Lake Meyer cottage design, in your final work, if I do see the edge of your floor showing in your renderings, again, it's not the end of the world. I'm not going to deduct marks from you. You're just learning how to use the software. And again, this is a little bit of an advanced move. But if you understand it, it's really something that's quick and easy that you can add to make this look proper when it's all said and done. But it will involve, if you've already drawn your floors, you redoing your floor boundary to make things work properly. And for those of you in the grade 12 class that are working on your dream house project, this is really, and we've been talking about this from day one, this is really the route you should be working with to make this all happen. So again, if I always go, and again, I can view all my different elements of what I've drawn so far in various views. I can look at them on floor plans, elevations. Again, if I go to my east elevation, and if I look at my elevation, here's my brick, here's my floor, right? There's the little gap in between, and then here's my foundation wall and my footings. So if I go to my top of footing level, this is where I've drawn my actual foundation walls. So here's my top footing, here's my foundation wall. You'll see that this is the foundation walls. I have the ability to select and edit, and then underneath it's just showing what's in view right now in my view. The footings that are below my foundation wall. You'll notice it gets cut off here because it's only showing what it can see from the top down. And right now we're seeing the perimeter of the deck that I added in another tutorial. So in order to draw my sill plate, I obviously want to be drawing that sill plate on my top of foundation wall level. So if I have my top of foundation, so I'm going to go on my top of foundation, and this will be the level that I'll draw my sill plate. And again, depending on, you'll see that I can actually see the outline of my foundation wall, which is below my main floor walls here. And again, my foundation walls are only 8 inches thick. My walls that I created as my exterior wall type's a little bit thicker, and that's why they occur where they do. So in this particular case, my floor system, okay, for a brick wall, the sill plate would actually fall along the inside edge of this foundation wall. So if I'm going to do a new wall, again, I'm going to find the custom wall type that I created for sill plate. I'm going to go from my location line. I'm going to do my finished face interior. Okay, I'm going to click on that interior face of my foundation wall, and then I'm going to start again. Remember always, before you click again, you figure out the proper direction to go with your line so that the sill plate is actually occurring where it's supposed to be. So this is now the inside face of my sill plate is flush with the inside face of my foundation wall. If I started going this way, again, that it'd be overhanging and wouldn't be sitting on top of my foundation wall. So I would just go around and I would draw I'm just using my scroll mouse on my mouse, the scroll wheel, to kind of zoom in and zoom out quickly. That's probably the most efficient way. Because I'm dealing with a few lines to deal with, I might have to zoom in just to make sure that I'm clicking right on the end point or the corners that I want to click on. So you don't want to rush too much through the process because, again, you want to make sure that you're clicking exactly where you want it to click or it will not be accurate on your drawing. So I've drawn that now. If I go to my 3D view, you'll notice that we'll see right here our sill plate wall that I created. And again, in my particular case, it's set back from the edge of my floor system because what's left over between this edge and the front here is what would be our brick ledge or our edge for whatever our masonry would sit directly on. And then the additional space between that would become our airspace. So I just click on that sill plate. Again, our base constraint, just to double check, is our top of foundation. And the top constraint is up to top of sill plate. And that was something I failed to mention as I was drawing it. I didn't set those two. So again, we're working on our top of foundation. So we want to make sure our base constraint is top of foundation wall and that our top constraint is our top of sill plate. And you'll see that our unconnected or our value here is 1.5 inches. And that is how you essentially add your sill plate to the top of your foundation wall. So if I wanted to, for instance, now fix my edge of my floor for my cottage, I would click on, and again, any view, I can go to my east view, and again, now you can see that sill plate that is in between my underside of my floor system and my top of my foundation wall. If I click on my floor system, there's an option to edit the boundary. So up here in the top toolbar, you'll see edit boundary. And then I'm going to go to my top of main floor view. And now you'll see in pink that particular view. Okay. You may have to play around with some of the settings. I can't see my foundation wall. So if I go to I'm going to have to exit here for a minute. So under my underlay, so I have no underlay right now. So I want to do let's try top of sill plate underlay. So that's actually I'm going to go top of foundation and I'm going to go top of main floor as my top level. And I can look down. So now in my plan that I'm working with right now, I can actually see that sill plate in that view. So again, if I now go back and go to edit my floor, and go to my top of main floor level. Now I can see my sill plate. So I really need to have that sill plate showing before I can do that. Because remember, this is the outside edge of my sill plate, and that's what the new boundary of my floor should be on. So I can actually either go around, there's one of two ways to do this. I can use these grip edits and actually drag them down to the new locations, right? Or what I would just highly suggest, because that can be pretty tedious, is just kind of going around and deleting all the previous lines for your perimeter. And now, so again, this is the line here of the outside of my sill plate. I can use the pick line command, and I can just quickly go around and pick that outside line. Okay, so I'm just going around very methodically. Zoomed over too far there, and I'm just making sure that I select every single line that I need to complete my floor boundary. And that's the last one right here. So now that I've created that boundary, I just hit the finish edit mode. And if I go to my 3D now, you'll notice that the edge of my floor system is now flush with the edge of my sill plate. All right, so that's how we get that all fixed up. And then in this case, and I can do another short tutorial following this, but in this case now what we have to do is I have this gap between my brick of my main floor exterior walls and the top of my foundation wall, and this needs to be filled up with this brick material in order to complete this drawing correctly as it would be drawn in, or as it would be constructed in real life. So I'm going to stop there with this particular tutorial. And again, that shows you how to kind of make that correction with the sill plate and getting that sill plate added to your REVIT project. And I'll do a quick other tutorial following this that will show you how to add the brick or whatever material it might be. So again, if I were to draw this sill plate, if this was going to be siding, this sill plate, if it's siding, if it's stucco, if it's split log, whatever type of design you're trying to do for your cottage or your dream house, the only difference would be is that this sill plate would actually come out flush with the outside edge of your foundation wall, and then this little spot that we'd have to fill up to cover the edge of our flooring, we would again create using the method that I'm going to show you on how to do it with the brick. So the only time we have this ledge going around the outside of our foundation wall is if we have a masonry situation with brick or stone, because this ledge provides bearing for that brick or stone.